The talking points tonight, an amazing SNP result. It looks like, I haven't got all the results in by any means, but Nicola Sturgeon, the leader of the SNP, First Minister of Scotland, joins us now. Nicola, thank you very much for joining us. This is a pretty spectacularly good result for you again. What does it mean in terms of British politics, particularly given the direction of the UK government at Westminster?
Well, it's a spectacular, exceptional result for the SNP. It exceeded even my expectations, so my congratulations to all of our newly elected and re-elected MPs. I mean, I think we see tonight the divergent paths that Scotland and the rest of the UK are on. Scotland has again sent a very strong message that we don't want a Conservative government, we don't want Brexit, and we want our future to be in our own hands. And, you know, that's the message from Scotland that I think has to be respected. I very reluctantly, and I deeply regret this, but I accept that Boris Johnson has a mandate to take England out of the European Union, but he does not have a mandate to take Scotland out of the European Union. And I have a renewed and strengthened mandate to offer the people of Scotland a choice over their future, and that mandate has to be respected.
But it won't be, so what happens then?
Well, look, I'm not going to engage in that because I've put forward a proposition that has been endorsed. My party has won the election, and the Conservatives, who put opposition to an independence referendum at the heart of their campaign, in fact it was the only aspect of their campaign, have lost seats and lost the election catastrophically. So, you know, my plan has been endorsed. It's for the Scottish Conservatives and the Conservatives overall now to reflect on that and I think get themselves into a position where they're prepared to accept democracy. Now, they can campaign against independence. That's perfectly legitimate. What they can't legitimately do is deny people in Scotland the choice over their own future.
Well, whether they can legitimately do it or not, I grant you is an open question, but they can deny you a legal referendum, and all the signs are that they're going to.
Well,
this is not only what Boris Johnson said repeatedly, it's what everyone says, everyone who's close to him says will happen. So I'm just interested, we're going to be talking about this, let's be frank, for the next 3 years, but
sure,
let's get that conversation in early.
I'm not, no, because I've just won an election in Scotland on the basis of offering the people of Scotland a choice over their future. Boris Johnson's party has lost that election on the proposition of denying that choice. Now, with the greatest of respect, I think in the first instance, it is for Boris Johnson to reflect on his position on this, not for me. My plan A has been endorsed, so it's Boris Johnson that needs to come up with a plan B, not me. And I really do think that right now these questions should be for the Conservatives, not for me. Scottish democracy should be respected. Scotland can't be kept in the UK against its will. It can only be by consent. And people in Scotland clearly want a different path to the rest of the UK, as indicated by this election, so they must have the right to choose what future they want. It's then up to people in Scotland to choose what that future is. I don't pretend that everybody who voted SNP yesterday will support independence, but clearly people in Scotland want a choice over our own future.
Well, I totally get that, and you're absolutely right, and it's been an amazing result, and clearly a lot of people in Scotland are sending a very, very clear message. The question I'm really just circling around here is what actually happens, what you do about it. Now, of course, it is possible that the UK government at Westminster might change its mind, but if it doesn't, you do have other options. You could have an indicative referendum that wouldn't be legal in the UK.
Look, I'm not getting into this. You're asking me to effectively concede that the Conservatives are going to deny and block Scottish democracy, and having just won an election, I'm afraid I'm not going to do that. It should be Boris Johnson that is under pressure to say why he thinks it is remotely acceptable for the result of this election in Scotland not to be honoured and respected. The Scottish Conservatives, they said that the union was on the ballot paper. They've lost this election, they've lost seats, their position has been rejected. In no normal democracy would it be the case that I, whose party have just won the election, is being asked what my plan B is, rather than the party that has just lost the election being asked what their plan B is.
Well, one thing is for sure, the UK government will be taking the UK out of the European Union at some point in the next 2 months. I think we can probably both agree on that. Do you think there's a reasonable likelihood that if you can negotiate another independence referendum, that you will be fairly swiftly able to join the EU? In fact, perhaps could you arrange a circumstance in which, you know, technically you were never perceived to have left, as it were?
Well, I think Scotland would be welcomed with open arms. I think that process could, yes, be relatively swift. Obviously, we would have to have discussions with the European Union, so I'm not going to be disrespectful to those discussions. But there's no doubt in my mind that if Scotland chooses independence and wants to be in the European Union, which the majority of people in Scotland do, then that is a position that the European Union will not only accept but welcome.
OK, Nicola Sturgeon, thank you very, very much indeed for joining us.